Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Alan from the Soldsie Success Team. Today, we're going to be going over the power of direct email marketing. So why direct email market? We're all selling on social or we've got our social media platforms, but why the need to actually go through and email blast our customers? Well, 91% of consumers check their emails daily, and 74% of consumers actually prefer to receive commercial communications via email. It's just another way to engage your customers and keep them top of mind. Something else that's really interesting, and this is very specific to, e-commerce sites and other businesses, 66% of consumers have actually made a purchase online as a result of an email marketing campaign. And I'll actually share something specific about me. I signed up for Guilt back in 2009. And we get, for those of you who are subscribed, get multiple emails a day. I actually did not make my first purchase on Guilt until last year. Their email marketing, although it may seem spammy at times, you get it multiple times, it keeps them, the brand top of mind to a consumer like myself. So direct email marketing, don't think of it as spammy, but think of it as a great way to engage your customers outside of the social media realm. What we're going to be covering today is how to export your emails from Soldsie, for those of you using Soldsie, how to import that list into MailChimp. And we chose MailChimp because we know a lot of our current users use MailChimp. It's also a very easy user interface. And we'll be going through that. How to create an email template, how to create and send a campaign, and then going over just basic email campaign metrics that are shown in MailChimp, and then how to be able to act and make decisions going forward to optimize your email campaigns. I went ahead and signed up for a free MailChimp account. So this is our MailChimp account. And before we get started with the actual demo and sort of best practices when creating and crafting an email campaign, I want to go over some definitions first. The three different definitions I want to go over are what a list is, what a template is, and what a campaign is. Lists are emails. It's a group of emails that you've designated as a specific subscriber list. And what we're going to be doing today is showing you how to export that from Soldsie and import that into MailChimp. Your email list and subscribers can be coming from your website, from other email capturing softwares. But, for those of us selling on Soldsie, we're capturing hundreds, if not thousands, of emails. And great, we're selling to them and engaging with them on social, but email blasting them and direct email marketing is actually the most effective way to communicate to your clients outside of, paid reach on Facebook, let's say. Direct email marketing is almost free, depending on what kind of plan you're on. But it's a great way to communicate with clients. Templates. Think of them as almost like a skeleton for your emails. Templates are a great way to save time going forward. Once you create a template, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like when we get there, you can use that template week over week if it's a newsletter, or create a separate template for special holidays. You can use these templates week over week, and it'll save you time from uploading images. You're essentially just plugging in copy week over week, going forward. The third thing is campaigns. A campaign is an actual email blast. So you would use a template to send to a list to launch a campaign. It'll make more sense once we start to actually go through the process. Going over to lists in MailChimp, as you can see, I've got a few different lists here, and I'll go over some best practices as far as, titling it, etc. But first, I'm going to show you how to do this and export it from Soldsie. And before we get to that, I'm actually going to go ahead and ask a poll question here. How many of you have actually sent an email campaign to your customers? Great. So here are the results. 86% of our attendees have said yes, and they've actually sent an email campaign before, and 14% no. Great. Going over basics, but also going to go over some other tips and tricks on how to optimize your email campaigns going forward. And please feel free to ask questions. I'll go over some Q&A at the very end and address any specific questions you may have. Great. So for those of you utilizing Soldsie, You can go to your customers tab on the dashboard. Let's filter back to 2012 and export all of these customers. Once again, all of your registered customers on this tab are people who have proactively chosen to register with your brand or store in order to make a purchase. And that means even if they've not made a purchase before, they've still taken that step to click the link to register. So consider this, potentially as a high value email address that you can keep retargeting with an email campaign to make a purchase at a later date. And once again, think of email campaigns as a way to keep your brand as top of mind to your end consumers. So to export, you can export all of your customers by clicking the export button, and it'll put into a CSV file, which is a specific file format that MailChimp allows you to import with. For those of you with over 1,000 emails, you can either filter by date and export 1,000 at a time, or feel free to email am@soldsie.com and we'll be able to actually batch export all tens of thousands of your emails at any given point. Great, now that I've exported that, I'm going to go back over to MailChimp and create a list. So before I do this, I want to ask one other question. So for those of you who are using Soldsie, how many have you actually exported your emails? Yes, no, I didn't know I could do that. Surprisingly, for some of you who use Soldsie, we actually get that quite often, that they didn't know that they could export their customers. Great, and here are the results. 51% of you said yes, 30% said no, and 19% said I didn't know I could do that. So it's actually interesting, and I'm glad that that's sort of like shedding light on that. 49% of you should absolutely be able to take advantage of your customers' email addresses. I mean, now that you know that you can do that, I highly recommend exporting them just like on maybe a monthly basis, so you're capturing all the new emails of people shopping with you. Great, so I'm going to create a list. Let's create a new list. Great. List name. So what I recommend for list names, if you're constantly going to be updating this, is updating it and including the date that you've updated it last. So for this, I'm going to do Francis and Lily 2/24/15, and we'll say it's the newsletter. Default from email. This should be your business's email where you want people to be able to respond and interact with them. Just in case anyone responds to the newsletter asking a specific question, make sure that it's not just a junk email address where you're not going to be checking it. Think of it as Facebook or Instagram. Same way, you're going to still want to be able to interact with your customers. So in this specific case, I'm going to use am@soldsie.com. The default from name. Funny enough, you want to make sure to either have your brand or your own personal name, and make sure that it's recognizable to your subscribers on your list. So in this case, I'm going to do the F&L team. And the reason why I'm doing F&L, I'm going to be utilizing our test store, Francis and Lily, as the example, and that's who the newsletter blast is for. If you put something that's not recognizable, that will directly impact your open rate. And we'll get more on that as far as best practices and what an open rate exactly is and how important that is in analyzing your campaign analytics. But make sure it's recognizable, because if no one recognizes who that name from name is, they're probably not going to open that email. Remind people why they got on this list. Great. And also too, you need to include a physical address from email, and I'll get to that more specifically later. There are things called CAN spam laws that were passed in 2003. This is actually a necessity. It is legally required for you to send out an email blast to include a physical address for your business. Now I'm going to save this. To the fun part, let's import subscribers. As you can see, MailChimp specifically has different integrations. With Soldsie specifically, we're going to import using a CSV. That's the file format that Soldsie will export, and we can import into MailChimp. So what I'm going to be doing is actually sending you this example email blast for all of our registered attendees. So I went ahead and exported that from our webinar service. Now let's upload the list. Great. You're going to see similar fields to this as you would with your Soldsie export. Essentially what MailChimp is asking you to do is identify what each of those columns in that CSV file and essentially what they are. So this one, first name, correct, last name, column name. So this is email addresses, very important. Registration date, I'm actually going to skip that. That's not really pertinent to any of this information. Same thing with the phone numbers. Maybe I'm interested about the company name. Subscribe, we'll skip that. So once I've gone through and identified what each of the different column headers are, I can go ahead and complete import. Great, so now I've got my list. Now I'm going to create a template. So I've never created a template before for Francis and Lily, but I want to set sort of precedent and save time in the future by creating a template that I can use week over week. That doesn't mean it's going to look exactly the same week over week, as I can make edits to the actual design once I'm launching a campaign, but I want some sort of bare bones structure for what I want to use for my specific brand. So let's create a template. I'll do this one. Preview mode. Great. So I selected the specific template, but this doesn't exactly fit the mold of which I want to use. I'm going to get rid of this. I want to include some sort of header. So what I did in advance was go to Canva to create a header for my email. France and Lily, the only way to shop. Something else, and this is the best practice with any image that you actually put into an email, including your header, you want to make it clickable. People tend to click on images within emails. Whether or not you make it clickable, people will click on it anyways. So why not take advantage of it and have it linked to somewhere where you want them to go? So I'm going to be linking to my e-commerce site. So if you saw that, I clicked the image and then I clicked link. So I'm going to insert that. So now anytime anyone clicks the header, it'll link them directly to my e-commerce site. Now I want to edit the body. I don't want this, but what I do want is 2 blocks of text. And something else too, to save time, I'm going to put my email signature here. Yours in fashion. And for fun, I'm going to use a logo or a little signature I created. So I'm going to add an image. Here is my signature. I'll make it 100. Great, almost done. Now I'm going to edit the footer. I'm going to remove these variables that MailChimp puts in there. But everything else here, going back to the CAN spam laws, you actually need a way for your subscribers to unsubscribe and update their subscription preferences. By law, you need to include this to make sure that it is CAN spam compliant. Same thing with the copyright, all of this kind of stuff. Make sure that you do not remove this because once again, it keeps your email blast compliant, and you don't want to be responsible down the line if someone reports you and you're not including all of this stuff and being compliant, because you could be subject to fines. Great. One other thing that I find super important, especially as social media is growing and so many users are there, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, is including your social links. So let's put that here at the bottom. So Facebook, put my link there. Twitter, I don't have Twitter, so we're going to do Instagram. And once again, I find this important not because people are already following you, but it'll help new people discover you on other platforms or just discover, all of your social media in general if they came through your website. Instagram, and we will do Pinterest. Save and close. Great. I'm happy with this. Let's move on. So I'm going to save and exit. Let's name my template F plus L weekly. Perfect. So I've uploaded my list. I've created a template to use. Now I'm going to create a campaign. So if you remember, a campaign is an actual email blast that I'm going to be sending out. So list our subscribers, templates is sort of the skeleton for what my email is going to look like, and the actual execution of the campaign is using those two things to send an actual email blast. So let's go ahead and create a campaign. I'm going to choose a regular old campaign. That means that it's an HTML email, but if someone does not accept HTML emails, like the device that they're viewing the email on, it will automatically default to a plain text version. A/B split campaigns. This is something for someone who is a little bit more advanced. I recommend doing this because you're able to then A/B test different subject lines. The from name, if you remember how I was mentioning that actually directly impacts the open rate as well as time and day to send campaigns. And we'll go over a little bit more about that because the time and the day actually also directly impact when someone's going to open and read the email. But in this case, we'll start with a regular old campaign. Let's choose the list. So it's the list that I just uploaded. I'm going to send it to the entire list, but for those of you who are more advanced, you can send it to a specific segment. So let's say I wanted to send it to, my top spenders, my top 20 spenders, let's say. What I could do is identify those emails, select this list so I'm not having to create a new list and re-import them and go through that. But I could do send to a new segment and literally pick specific email addresses. I can pick specific groups, etc., and send only to, let's say, my top 20 of the 94. So I'm not re-importing a list. It's saving me time because then I'm just copying and pasting the ones that I want to send to a specific segment. So click next. Name of campaign. Similar to the email list, I recommend putting the date as well. So this is going to be our first newsletter, 2/24/15. Email subject line. This is something that, tons of marketers and, us as business people, we need to think about what we're putting in the actual email subject line. This is probably the most important thing that directly impacts open rates. For those of you who don't know what an open rate is the number of people that open the email divided by the total number of people that you sent it to. Open rates are important. I mean, you want people to be opening the communication that you're sending to them. Otherwise, if they're not opening it, the email's no good. I mean, people aren't reading it, and the content and the calls to action that you have in your emails, are never going to be seen or taken advantage of. So what should we include in the email subject line? Well, going back to the canned spam laws, you can't do a bait and switch. You actually have to do or use a subject line that pertains to what the content is in the body of the email. That's not to say you can't have fun with it, by any and all means. So keep it short, don't make it too long. Make sure that it's catchy and that it grabs your user's attention. Something that I always like to tell people is put yourself in your ideal customer's shoes and think about it. What would make you as your customer open this email? Like, is it, flash sale coming up? Is it a discount coupon code? Is it a funny, catchy, witty sentence in relation to something? And I'll give you an example. So I'm actually going to do dreaming of Cuba. It doesn't make sense quite yet, but it's definitely, a top of mind question that people might be like, hey, that sounds interesting. From name FNL team and from email address am@soldsie.com. Great, because I set that at the list level, so I don't have to continue to update this. But if you did want to test different from names and you didn't want to use the AB function within MailChimp, you can test 1 week with FNL team, test another week, maybe, Alan, because I'm the business owner of Francis and Lily. Test different things just to see what gets people's attention and what increases your open rates. All of these here for tracking, I want all of this to default on and make sure that I'm tracking opens, tracking clicks, and those are clicks like, for example, the actual header, how I made it clickable. And then I want to track plain text clicks as well. I want to see what kind of links people are clicking on. If I'm linking text, if people are clicking that, or is it more effective that people are clicking the header or an image within my email blast? All of these little attentions to detail and with looking at the reporting to see what my consumers that are opening it are reacting to, that's very important because that should help me decide down the line what I'm using and how I'm constructing my email campaigns. One other thing too, so there's tags that you can actually include. So if you remember those columns, I had first name, last name, business. Those are all auto-populated tags that I can use within my email blast. And I'll show you how to do that once we get there. Great, next. Select a template. So once again, I created a template already, so this is going to save me a lot of time. So I just go to my Save Templates. Instead of having to recreate this again, select my FNL Weekly. Perfect. This is the template I created, and I've got my bare skeleton bones of what I want my email list or email blast to look like. This is already linked out. Don't have to worry about that. Now let's get on to the actual copy. Something to keep in mind, your email copy should be short. It should be no longer than just, max 2 different blocks of text. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of attention towards the bottom of the email. You typically want to keep what's most important or what's catchy up on top because that's the first portion that a customer will read when they're clicking into the email. If they find that this first block of text is not engaging or exciting, there's a good chance that they're just going to click out of it. Yes, you got the open, but if you're not getting what you want out of your customers to do, the call to action, then it wasn't as effective as you want it to be. And you can track that through the actual clicks with the links that you include. So I pre-wrote some copy. So dreaming of Havana, that ties directly back to my subject line about Cuba. And that's not what makes it cohesive. I'll explain a little bit later when I get into my second block of text. But this is my first one. This is the broader base of what I want to include in my what's going on in my social media business. So what's going on in fashion? Did you love all the fashion at the Grammys and Academy Awards? We'll be posting our favorite looks from all award shows on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure to follow us to see our pics from each show. So this was my call to action. You always want to include a call to action in the email. Strong copy will have this is because you're sending this email for a reason because you want your subscribers to do something, and I want them to follow me. To make it easier, when I mention my Instagram or Facebook, I actually linked out, and you do that by just selecting the text you want to link, click this little link button, and then put the URL you want it to link to. So just remember, linking out makes things easier, but you can also track these calls to action and see if your subscribers are actually doing it. So I linked Instagram, I linked Facebook. Great. Something else to keep in mind is when writing copy, you want to use words like you. You want to address the consumers or subscribers directly. It makes it seem more personal, and just on a psychological level, they're able to connect to it more and it keeps them more engaged with what you're writing. So make sure you are following us to see our pics from each show. Did you love all the fashion? Great. So my copy there is fine. Next, I actually want to put an image in here to break up some of the text, and I want it to relate to the second portion of copy that I'm going to put in here. This specific block of copy I'm reserving for current sales that are upcoming or going on. And so I'm actually going to be running a whole new collection, and it's the Cabana Resort collection. So that's what ties back to Havana and Cuba and just sort of that whole theme. It's my Resort 2015 collection. Let's see here. So to insert an image, click the image button. I went ahead and created in Canva as well a banner to go across advertising the Cabana Club collection. So let's select that. Great. If you're using Canva and creating email headers and images in there, know that the email header is set. It's the perfect width. If you're entering any other image that you want to span across the entire length and match the header, it's 565 pixels in width. Once again, I want to link to something. So the Cabana Club collection, Fall Francis and Lily Resort 2015 collection. So it's not for sale yet, but in preparation for the sale, I want to make sure all my subscribers are registered. So what I'm going to be doing is actually putting my registration link for Instagram. So this is specific to Soldsie sellers. So I can go to the S apostrophe. Here is my registration link for Instagram. Now I'm going to put that in. Great. Here, I've got another poll question for you guys. What percent of email opens occur within the first 48 hours? While you guys are answering that, I'm actually going to go ahead and paste in my second portion of copy. Great. Here are the results from the poll. So 89% of you, or sorry, 51% of you think it's 89%, 29% say 76, 48%, and 17% of you say 28%. The answer is 76%. 76% of all email opens happen within the first 48 hours. Through actual MailChimp reporting and other reporting through Constant Contact, if you're using Constant Contact or any other email service, you'll be able to track over time when your email engagement happens, time and date. And you'll see that spike happen within the first 48 hours. So going on to my second portion of copy, if you remember, I linked this to my registration link on Instagram. So I wrote the Cabana collection exclusively on Instagram. Beginning this Thursday, we'll begin to sell our new Cabana Resort 2015 collection exclusively on Instagram first. Make sure to register to shop our Instagram so you don't miss out. So I actually made register also clickable. And if you remember, this is my call to action, and I made this clickable as well. You'll find that people, yes, they read, but they may not always pay attention. So great, I made the banner clickable as well as the text. And going back on what I said about a best practice when writing copy, utilizing you and addressing your subscriber that way is a best practice to make it more personal, to make sure that it engages them and it feels like you're connecting. We will begin to sell our new. So we will change this to you will be able to purchase our new Cabana Resort to Instagram. Make sure you register make sure you register to shop our Instagram so you don't miss out. Yours in fashion, Francis and Lily. Great. So I'm pretty happy with this. And as you see, you've got my social links here. Let's go ahead, save and close that. Something I like to do is always preview it and also send myself a test. So here's some fun facts about mobile. So this is also very important. Whatever email software you are using, make sure they have mobile responsive templates. So what does mobile responsive mean? Mobile responsive means that the email will automatically detect what kind of device you're looking at it, whether it be desktop, if you're looking at it on an iPhone or an Android, and it'll optimize, and so it'll squish all of the images and shrink down the text to make sure that it's mobile friendly. So if you are using MailChimp, their templates are automatically mobile responsive. Their display, however, when you go into preview mode, does not reflect that. But this is actually a great example. This is what a non-mobile email template would look like for someone on mobile. Notice how you have to scroll over and how annoying that is and sort of like scroll left to right to be able to read everything. The image doesn't skew properly, so it doesn't look beautiful. And I don't think that's a very accurate portrayal of my business. And I would hope that, all of you sending email blasts or planning to send email blasts take this into heavy consideration. You know, 48% of all emails are actually opened on mobile. I actually wouldn't doubt if that number grows consistently week over week. More people are on mobile and viewing and operating everything, all aspects of their day on mobile. So I imagine it's actually a lot higher than that. We recently sent an email blast from Soldsie to our newsletter, and 81% of all opens happened on a mobile device. 76% which happened to be iPhone. Something interesting. On that note, talking about mobile responsive templates, last poll question of the day. What percent of mobile users delete emails that aren't optimized for mobile? Great, here are our results. So for the 38% of you that said 66%, you are correct. 66% of mobile users who open emails that are not optimized will delete the email. Great. So now I'm going to send myself a preview or a test email. And I recommend doing this, especially for those of you who are doing this for the first time. It's always good just to double check everything looks good on a mobile device, everything looks good on desktop, and before you commit and schedule your campaign, it's just a best practice to do this. So I'll send myself a test one. Great, assuming everything checks out, I've checked my test email. Let's go on to next. So I'm all ready to send it. Everything looks good. Let's schedule this. So just because I created this now does not mean I have to send it out now. Time and day actually also direct email open rates. Here's some interesting things. Tuesday through Thursday are actually the best days to send emails, just because Mondays people are busy, Fridays people are thinking of the weekend, and on the weekends people are enjoying their weekends. So Tuesdays through Thursdays, statistically speaking, are the best days to send out emails. Also, best times of day, but this will depend on your actual subscriber list and how they interact with technology and emails and stuff like that. But 9 to 11 a.m. typically is the best time to send an email, or 1 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. People check in the afternoon and also check first thing in the morning. I recommend testing between those times, and then you can track through your actual reporting when the best time and when you get the best opens throughout the day. And once again, you'll be able to see that through the actual reporting. So I can schedule it today, I can schedule it later. Let's go ahead and schedule this to go out today at 12 p.m. Great, so all of you who are attending will actually get this test email. There's another option in MailChimp. You can actually let MailChimp optimize for maximum engagement. I wouldn't do it right off the bat just because you want to give MailChimp some data to work off of. So as you send email campaigns, MailChimp collects all of that data. When opens happened, days, times, etc. MailChimp will then take that data and optimize when this campaign should go out. So if you have a paid version of MailChimp, you'll be able to select this specific feature. Let's go ahead and schedule. Perfect, it's scheduled. Going back to my campaigns tab, I'm going to select a campaign that I've already sent out. So let's go ahead and view the report. So my open rate was terrible on this one. Let me select a different one. Great, we'll choose this one. So my open rate is great, but also keep in mind that I only sent this to 7 people and everyone was at the office. But here, MailChimp will actually show you the open rate. So that was 71.4%. Something else that's very interesting, we're always curious, like what is the industry average? What is considered a good email open rate? Well, when you sign up for MailChimp, or if you are already signed up for MailChimp, you designate what category your business is. And so for us, we're in e-commerce. The average industry average is 11.4%. So I know that I did significantly better compared to my industry average. And same thing with click-through rates. And this is any individual time and individual clicks, any of my links within my email. 14.3%, which is much better than the 1.5% industry average. Great. Something to keep in mind too, for those of you who are more tenured, industry averages are great, but you should be benchmarking your performance based upon your track record. You should continue to either iterate and improve on what your metrics are. It should never decline. If it's declining, then take into account some of the different things or variables that could be directly impacting your open rate. Subject line, from name, time and day, and then also look at your subscriber list, and we'll go over that a little bit as well. Here I'm able to see, who opened it. I can click this and see exactly who opened this. Same thing with clicks. I can see what exact link was clicked and who clicked it. This should tell me what content within my email, so whether it be highlighting text and making that link clickable, or if it's an image that performs better, that should tell me then, great, images work, so my call to action should always be click the image, and I should include more images within my actual email campaign. All of that kind of data you should take a look at week over week as you send an email campaign, or campaign over campaign, to see if you find any commonalities on what gets the best clicks, and then adjust your strategy going forward to truly optimize your email campaign to get the call to action and get your subscribers to follow through on that call to action. Same thing like I was mentioning before, as you start to run your campaigns, you'll see the 24-hour performance. So when are people opening it? Times of day, etc. This should also help dictate when you are sending out your email campaigns to optimize for open rates. So all of these factors, will truly help you optimize, your results essentially. So here, top links clicked. It was my registration link. No one clicked on Facebook or my Instagram. So that would tell me that my image did well. And then also has the subscribers with the most opens. It'll tell me Dan actually opened the email twice. He might have found it intriguing. Something else that could be interesting for those of you who are a little bit more senior or are a little bit more experienced with emails, maybe send out a separate email with a different subject line to those people who didn't open it or didn't click on the links. Because if someone actually opened and then clicked the link, great. The content and copy, it matched up with what that subscriber was looking for, but maybe try making a separate segment of all those people that didn't click the links but opened it, and you'll be able to see that through clicking through the reporting here. And test, a different image, test a different subject line, test a different from name, different ways to try to impact and try to learn more about your subscribers on what's going to get them to open that email. Great, getting them to open is great, but just think about it. You're putting very useful information that can directly impact your business and sales, etc., in these emails. Same thing with social performance. And then for those of us with an international audience, you can also see what resonated best by location and where the opens actually happened, whether it be the US, Asia, Europe, etc. It'll actually list the specific countries that the opens happened in, which is pretty cool. Great, so that covers everything in my demo. Now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Great, so Alex asked, what is the email address again to request our entire customer list in CSV format? You can email am@soldsie.com, or for those of you who know their account manager, you can email them directly as well. Great. Question from Lisa Archer. I joined late, so not sure if this has been addressed already. Can Soldsie merchants legally send emails to our customers who've only registered through Soldsie? I know we have access to their emails, but is it in violation of CAN spam? So no, you can actually send them an email as long as you have that opt-out option, so the unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. Sarah, thank you for bringing that typo to my attention. Eric, same thing. Thank you for bringing the typo out. Lisa Lightbody, how many emails should be sent per weekly sale? Um, we actually recommend sending one email a week. I know a lot of big companies send, multiple emails a day, but a best practice would be to start off sending one email a week. Something that is interesting, this is an actual statistic. So some of these larger companies, they actually did a test, and this information is public, but they showed that dropping their number of emails from twice to once per week actually lowered their unsubscribes by 50%. And it also increased their open rates by 80%. Heather asked, is there a best practice as far as how many pictures to include in an email? Heather, there actually isn't, because it depends on how you want to formulate, like what kind of template you're creating. You'll see some companies that will actually put just one giant image and put the text as an overlay, and that works for them. I recommend testing with different amounts of images within an actual email template or email campaign and seeing what works best by analyzing your reporting. I do recommend, look at the actual preview, make sure that it's not forcing a customer to scroll, continuously down because you've included so many images. If it's specific to like a preview for a sale, maybe pick like 4 images and don't show them the entire collection. You want to keep it enticing, and that will also prevent it from being super long. Great. Any other questions? Great. Chelsea is asking, when should we send our email for a sale? For example, our sale starts at 7:30. What time should the email go out? I recommend sending it. So if it's 7:30 p.m., send it in that 9 a.m. time frame. So sometime in the morning, so that it keeps it top of mind. Because if you're sending it too close to the sale, and I've seen this mistake happen before with some of our sellers, where they'll send it 30 minutes prior to the sale, you're banking on the fact that your customer is going to check that email or check their email 30 minutes before the actual sale. Sending it in the morning when you're going to most likely have a better open rate, it keeps it top of mind throughout the day. Laura, is there a way to connect the email to open an Instagram app directly instead of the website? There are, but it's going to take more coding. So if you're familiar with HTML and whatnot, you can customize that to have it do that. Great. Any other last questions? Perfect. Thank you so much, guys.